Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and dear guest. Lasting impact. This Holi, first of all, belated happy Holi to all. So I'm not sure to what extent you guys enjoy your Holi, but I celebrate Holi till this extent. What an impact of Holi left behind after it's gone to me. But this impact will be gone shortly. The impact which lasts is the impact left on our heart, be it positive, be it negative, or be it emotional. So for today's session, we have Toastmaster Rahul Jain, who is the Toastmaster from Hyderabad Toastmasters Club, who is also the Vice President membership of his club, and he began his journey in 2019. He is also mentor at Mitra Tech Toastmasters Club. He'll be delivering his session on lasting impact. Before starting, I would like to introduce you all about him, that he's an entrepreneur by profession and an inspirational speaker and life coach by his passion. Through his initiative, Living Life, over the past 16 years, he has touched over 25,000 lives through his training program, and plus going on today as well. Talks and keynotes addresses across the country. He is into it. He believes that there is infinite potential in every individual, and that is limited only by our individual thoughts. To unleash the Toastmaster with hidden potential, we have Toastmaster Rahul Jain. I would request you to now take over the virtual dais and enlighten us with your knowledge.
Thank you, Toastmaster Anupriya, and good evening, and thank God it's Friday. I'm sure each one of you all have a reason to call that. It's thank God it's a Friday. But for me, the reason is the other way around. Most part of my work, which I do as in living life, is the work that I do on the weekends. And so I say, thank God it's Friday, because that's where I get going and kickstart my weekends where I'm working on my programs. So first and foremost, like most of us have already got into Toastmasters with this one simple idea: improving public speaking and leadership skills. Let me confess over here something that I've seen and understood over the years when it comes to communication skill. A lot of people have seen communication skill with the science element of it, the minute details that we talk of how communication is impactful and how we are becoming better. But at the ground level, from what I've seen, is that communication is largely an art, a work of art, because beyond the science that you see of the grammar, language, and different elements that you look at, it is purely a form of expression of what you think and how you are getting it out to the world. And that's where, if there is one skill that puts to pale every other talent that you have, every other skill set that you have built over the years, it got to be communication skills. Because I've seen exceptional people, talented people with wonderful knowledge and skill set failing because of this one skill not being delivered. And on the contrary, a lot of people who are not that formally educated or qualified or have those certificates that we often chase, doing wonders with purely this one skill of talking and interacting and communicating with people. And that has no connection literally with your education or the degrees that you have. Having said that, here for today, I'm not referring, like because it's a Toastmaster platform. Let me also give a caveat over here that I'm not limiting this session to the speeches that you deliver, the way you are standing up on stage and talking. The focus of this session is about the impact, and impact can be in different forms of communication in whatever form that you're doing. It could be standing up on stage and delivering a speech, or it could be interacting, or the way we are doing it right now. In a small crowd, in a bigger crowd, through a video, through a mail, through a chat, however you are doing, the idea is your communication leaving a mark on the people who are listening to it? So that is where we are trying to focus on through this program. The target is to focus Sunish, can I speak? You muted me as well. Thank you. Anyways, so having said that, let me ask you all the first question that I have in mind today. Have you been impacted or inspired or left moved with a conversation with someone that you have got in touch with? I'm not talking of some video or something which is, that is a far-fetched and stretched target that I have. But I want to ask you all, have you been moved or touched or left thinking about some communication, some conversation way after it has happened and done? If you have, let me ask you one thing. In one or two words, what is it that made that conversation or that communication stick to your mind? You can just unmute or put it on chat. What is that one element which made a certain conversation or certain communication that you had with anyone stick to your mind, and you even today feel it fresh, like it is just happening right now or just happened yesterday? What is that one factor that you see that moves you as an individual? Made me question my beliefs. Wonderful. So it touched who you are. Sudha, go ahead.
Yes, for me, I think any communication is about relatability. So I personally think when somebody talks, you just listen, but then when you know that that's something, it's like nostalgia, or it's a kind of deja vu moment, and then you kind of relate to it, and it sticks with you, and then you relate to that problem and the solution in that manner always. So that's the way I look at a communication which sticks to my head. Yes.
Relatability and personal connect. Wonderful. Thank you, Sudha, for sharing that. And I got in the chat from Kirti, made me question my beliefs, basically challenging your gray area. I have also got it from Anupriya, inspiration and connection. Wonderful. Again, I would request each one of you all to switch on your videos if it's possible, for us to have the best of this session, to make it interactive, while each one of you all are already leaving a mark from what you're doing right now. Umanatrat says something that connects with you, personal connections, or something that resonates with you. Thank you for each one of you all for sharing those ideas, because somewhere you are taking away my point. So I don't want to give more time to each one of your answers, and you're taking away everything that I have to share. So having said that, let's get going with lasting impact. Over the next 30 minutes, what I'll be doing is leaving you with 6 lessons that I've learned over the past whatever time I remember, from the trials that I've had, from the mistakes that I did, from the failures and utter instances which have humbled me that I'm doing something wrong in my communication. These are instances that have taught me on what is it that makes a communication or the impact that you are trying to have with your communication last beyond that moment when your communication is over and far ahead. So let's get going with the 6 lessons that I have to share. And I'm going to use a simple acronym. Impact. Impact. When I begin with this first word, first thing that I come across when it comes to communication, people often assume or think of communication about me. That I comes into the picture where I'm thinking of communication, while the reality and the focus area should be anything but I. It has to transcend from you and your idea to the idea and the impact that you want to have with your communication. That has to be the central force of any communication that you have. I've seen a lot of people deliver or interact and talk to people ending up with admiration. No denying the fact that someone will admire you. Have you come across instances where you're sitting and listening to someone 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you scratch the one who's sitting by your side and ask him, beautiful, right? Wonderful. But what is he saying? Kehna kya chahte ho? Bahut acha, bahut acha. I'm reminded of an instance where a young kid went to an ophthalmologist to get his eyes tested. And there he was sitting on the chair and the doctor was asking the kid, can you read that ABC which is written at the bottom? The smallest one. The kid did not respond. He moved to the next step. The kid did not respond. He moved to the largest size of that ABCs and asked him, can you read that? The kid did not respond. The doctor had to announce to the kid, son, I believe you have lost your eyesight. And he just heard the word lost and eye or something like that and bounced out of the seat and said that, Doctor Saab, mujhe English padhni nahi aati. Are you communicating with who you are, or are you communicating with the idea and the impact that you want to have? Look at the fancy difference between how a Shashi Tharoor is, a Sudha Murthy is, or how a Sadhguru is. Each one has their own objective, no denying the fact that what is their objective of communication could be different. But if I were to ask you, do you remember one instance of the message that Shashi Tharoor gave you? Can you tell that? While in comparison to what Sudha Murthy said or what Sadhguru said about the message and the impact it had on you. I admire Shashi Tharoor for his ideas because I can understand his language also. But the fact is, I admire him more for the vocabulary and the English that he has, and not for the message that he delivers. So while you are interacting with people, always remember, look at who you are talking to. Right now, I can see only two other faces other than me. So please show me who you are so that I can talk to you and make it relatable rather than just talking to the names that I see over here. So in that context, look at every time you're communicating to leave an impact, because we're talking of impact and we're talking of the other person and he or she leaving with an idea, leaving with a message. It has to be the center of focus. It has to be, that person has to be the center of the entire idea, not you. I still remember once I was giving an icebreaker speech in my club, which was a normal community club where we had all ages of all people of all ages, diverse and everything. So I had a certain idea that I want to deliver the speech, prepared it and went. The other time when I went, I was requested to deliver the same icebreaker speech in a school. I changed the entire speech. My normal speech of icebreaker was having a good balance between my schooling time, my education, my career, my relationships. While when I'm talking to a school student, what will it make a difference to that kid who's listening to me there? For them, the focus will be, what did I do at that point in time when I was there, which made the entire difference? So the entire focus of the icebreaker speech, the same, I'm introducing myself, but the idea shifted from the balance to every facet to skewed towards what is it that who is it that I'm talking to? And how is it that will make an impact on that person who's listening to me? So ask yourself once, in your communication, wherever, in whatever format, in your corporates, in your speeches, are you delivering a speech to who you are, to yourself, or are you delivering a speech to the audience and the message that you have in your mind? Change the focus from you. The I has to not be that I, but has to be the impact that you are trying to make. That is where the entire difference will, beginning of the impact to happen. Because if the locus is on you, you're falling flat right there. Let's move on to the next idea that I had. I want you all to do a communication audit. And when I say a communication audit, look at the WhatsApp chats that you do, the mails that you're sending, the way you speak to people, the content of it, and ask yourself, does my communication shout out loud to anyone, to whomsoever it may concern? Can I change the number of a person in your chat, in your WhatsApp right now, and you still will be chatting in the same way as you were doing with someone? If you are talking to one employee or the other employee, or one superior to another superior, does your content and the way you speak change or not? I'm not talking of that difference where you're talking to superior and to a subordinate. I'm talking of the difference in the content, in the way you are speaking. For you to make an impact, just now someone mentioned relatability. One of the foremost factor for you to leave a mark in someone else's mind is to make you go deeper in that person. Talk to that person, not talk to anyone. Every time you will be speaking to someone who feels that you are talking to them. Deepa, table topics, great show, great education sessions. Anupriya, I like the way you introduced yourself and the pointer that you gave. The way you introduced made me feel that, okay, I am being introduced by the right person. Sunish, the way you were interacting before the session began, because that is where we lighten the environment. You look at how each person is being connected to what I'm saying because I'm talking to you. Thank you, everyone. It was wonderful meeting you all. Deepa will think I'm talking to Anupriya. Anupriya will be thinking I'm talking to Sunish. It could be whomsoever it may concern. But the point is for you to leave a mark based beyond the content. I'm saying someone could go back home with the content which I'm. But for you to leave an impact on you, on the other person, it has to be personalized. It has to have that personal connect, and that is where you will see the people that you actually care about are the ones who have connected with who you are. Look at your friends or look at the colleagues or even the acquaintances that you have. You will remember the ones who have had a personal connect to what you are saying or to what you're doing. And that is where the ball gets rolling to get deeper in the impact that you have. Otherwise, you're just skimming around people, and it can be anyone and anyone that who's listening to you or you're interacting with. So change that focus to how we can get it personalized. I have this interesting idea called as potent imaging that I do. This is an idea where you actually could be challenging in the first interaction, but as you get deeper and know more people, know a little more about them. Right now, when I said deeper and table topics, this is what I was referring to. When I talked to, I don't know Anupriya or I don't know Sunish, so I don't have deeper examples. I know Uma Natraj. I look at the wonderful work she's doing as an English teacher for the past 30 years. That's where whatever you see in the other person's interest, what is the commonality and what is that person interested in? Dogs, gardening, cricket, business, stock market, whatever it is, when you're interacting with other person, use an analogy of that person's world. And that is where you get deeper and connected with someone. I am a person who's into motivational speaking or motivation, all these content, which is about inspiration. You talk to me and tell me that, you know, this is a transformation. I'll be all ears. Why? Because you're talking about my world. And that makes a difference. That is where with every conversation, see how you can teleport yourself into the world of the listener. And precisely the reason I say, whenever you're speaking, speak the language of the listener. For you to go deeper, speak the language of the listener. And I'm not limiting to the potent imaging, but also talking about the language that someone speaks. It could be their native language. If you have a friend, if you know someone in the world, outside somewhere, and if you know she speaks Tamil or she speaks Telugu, he speaks Kannada, start speaking in a language which will connect at a deeper level. You need not limit to the English language. For the connect to happen, it is where we find the commonality with the receiver is where you have the inroad to making an impact on that person. So focus on that. So I've seen instances where I've come across tech CEOs not talking about the hardcore technology variant or hardcore features of the technology, but talking about how it is going to impact people. The technology part might be beneficial if you're talking to the tech guys or the tech people in your company whom you're explaining about the product and the technology. But when you come to the outer world, you look at any pitch about a new product by Steve Jobs, it will be less than 20% about the technical features and 80% about the story that you're creating, the benefits that you're going to have, the experience that you're going to have. And that is where you're talking or moving away from your expertise or solid domain to the world of the listener. That's where you have a possibility or opportunity to get deeper and connect with them. I've seen a lot of people especially in tech world, where because they're constantly engaged in that world only, talk about the technical details in their presentations. Even if you would have experienced somewhere some people in their research and present case in Toastmaster speeches, because of their own interest or their own focus on a certain subject which they are excited about, completely limit the entire speech to that technical detail which is there, which they're offering, and less about what is it that the audience would like to hear from this. We still have this as a base, but how is it that I can impact and leave every member of the audience with something to take away? So change the focus from the first point which you said, the idea and focus, and for the idea and the impact to be deeper, get into the world of the listener. Before I move ahead, any questions anyone would like to ask on these two ideas? And again, I would request, please, everyone, switch on your videos. It will be wonderful to see your faces. Any questions, anyone? I assume that. Yes,
I
Anupriya,
have
go
a
ahead.
question. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So generally, I mean, I am somebody who does not limit to my group. So I generally prefer to go and deliver speeches to other group as well, the Toastmaster Club. So, I mean, there are possibilities that some are community groups, some are corporate clubs, and they have different audience. So I am from a technical corporate club. Some I might enter entrepreneur club or maybe a Andheri club or some of the other clubs. So how should I then focus on that type of audience, and how should I study them basically? How to know your audience basically?
Anupriya, if you have heard the World Public Championship speeches, the idea that we're talking of here is the universality of the message that you have.
Okay.
When you have an idea and you don't know whom you want to speak to, pick up examples, pick up stories that anyone can resonate with. Again, you will have a good segment of people who might not resonate with your stories, with your examples. That's okay. But in general, if you know, if there's a broad pattern, going to entrepreneurs club, you know they're entrepreneurs or aspiring ones. You're going to a Gavel's club, you know there are kids out there. But going to a place where you don't know, as an example, today, I don't know, there could be a 40-year-old person, there could be a 20-year-old here. But using a universal language and universal examples which can resonate with a lot and mix it up. I don't want to use all the examples of corporates only, or I don't want to be using all my examples of childhood or as a kid or something like that. So when you mix it up, you are sure that when you don't know who all are going to listen, you're going to resonate at least with one segment of your speech with everyone in the audience. And you can never be sure still. You will always have that suddenly an outright example that, okay, I'm talking to 60-year-olds and all my examples are about teens. Could happen. But try to mix it up. All I'm saying is that with the message that you have, even the research and present projects that you carry, let that be 20% of the core technical aspect or the content which is there, which is specific. But look at the beyond part being universal in nature. I hope that answers you, Anupriya.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions, anyone? Yes,
Can
Vikas.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not able to put on my video. I'm on mobile and
Go ahead.
issue. So they're not related to speech, right? But related to our work relations. When it comes to your bosses and boss's boss, trying to figure out what is the hobby of this boss. Probably I am kind of a person who will not talk beyond work. So coming to understand of their likings or what their hobbies are or what stories could relate to them, because they are senior and it's difficult to get into that zone and talk freely about those areas.
Thank you, Vikas, for that question. From what I understand, the question is about how do you get deeper to know the person so that you can connect to or make inroads using that example. Initially, it could be challenging because you don't know a lot of people. Right now, for example, I've seen only the faces of 4 people, 5 people over here, and rest are DPs or just the names. The only opportunity that you have is when you are listening. For rest of the times, when you're interacting with people, listen. Listening is a wonderful trait. The challenge is, do you know why most of us forget the names of people? When people introduce, hi, I'm Rahul, and then I begin with my speaking, and then someone introduces their name and then begin with their talk or whatever they're interacting. Do you know why we forget or we don't remember the names of people? How many times have you asked, by the way, before I answer that? I forgot your full name. Can you tell me that? Or can you come again? I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Or here, there, and try to get the name. The reason for that is, while we are communicating, while the other person is speaking, we are constantly in the thought process of what am I going to say next? That is the fundamental reason why we do not recollect the name of someone who said, because we did not hear in the first place. Because we are in the thought, I've said this, now I'll wait for him to say something, because he has to say something. Otherwise, it won't be a communication, it'll become a monologue. And we don't want that. So let me, for the sake of formality, let him speak, let him tell whatever he wants to, but then I'll get back to what I want to say. And that's where you're formulating your thoughts while the other person is speaking. For that very reason, listening is a way, the inroads to seeing. The person might not say something that this is what I'm interested in, or outrightly talk about his personal life. But there will always be cues here or there where you'll see that this person could be inclined or could be interested in this thing. The other day, I saw someone talking about Jadeja being selected as the captain. I knew where to talk my next line. IPL, Dhoni, Kohli, or cricket in general. Look at the women's cricket. So if the woman is saying that I could connect it with the women's cricket, did you see the World Cup 2020 women's match? We are back to the square one where we are waiting for others' results to move in our favor. Look at how you can make inroads based on just one word or one cue. You have to be consciously listening to what that person is saying. And for that, you have to get over yourself first. Because frankly speaking, if you were to communicate with someone, if you don't have any agenda in your mind, frankly, those will be the best conversations that you'll be having. Because you're listening and you're building on what is being spoken about. That's where the opportunity of deeper conversations happen. When you are with a sales pitch, when that phone call that you're making for making that sales pitch, you are all about yourself. How many calls did you get today? Sir, this property is available. This call is there. This is that. This is that. Did you listen to how they speak? The reason they fail is for this reason. They're not interested in what you're going to say. They know the answer is no already. And so, because they have to make a count, 200 calls today. And the reason why some people don't make those 200 calls. They make only 50 calls, but they are listening to what the other person is saying. Pick it up from that cue that you're getting, and you can get chance to get deeper in that call rather than just going up with your script and delivering that. So let's move ahead. Having spoken on the first I, which is the idea and the impact. Second is the merge with the audience. Moving on to the next point, which is P, patterns. You have to understand what's your DNA, what's your differentiating factor, what is it that people are going to come up to you. I'm not going to go to a BMW and think about how much discount I'm going to get. I'm not going to go to a different brand or a high-end brand and talk about mileage with them. If I were to give you 5 words right now and ask you to form a 5-line story from that, the words being bicycle, desperate, red, warning, and luck. Don't create that story. If I were to ask the people who are surrounding you or the people who know you, they'll be able to guess exactly what story you are going to create. Because we all operate in patterns. The way we are thinking, the way we are operating, the way we are communicating always, the other person already knows what is it that's going to come up when I'm going to ask a question, when I'm going to say something, and how is it that the reply going to come. Because we have a habit of operating in patterns, and the impact that we have is preempted even before we are making the impact. So this is not for someone whom you don't know, but for someone you know. If you were to go and tell him that, okay, you are giving a scenario to him, a situation to them, you'd already know what is going to come up with them. the response that's going to come up from them? Yes, no. You largely know what is going to come up. And that's because we all operate in patterns. What is a narrative that you're creating? What is a narrative that you're creating while you are interacting with someone? Because to me, if someone comes to me, for the ones who know me, they know with whatever situation they come up to me, I'll always have this angle or the story of positivity from what is being, whatever scenario you bring it up. I'll give that motivational angle. I'll give that positive angle. I'll tell them to look at the light at the end of the tunnel. That's how it is going to be for me. Because that's the narrative that I've created based on my communication pattern over the years and with every conversation that I've had. So ask yourself, what is a narrative that you are creating based on the way you communicate with people? Is it criticizing? Is it challenging? Is it positive? Is it hope? Is it faith? Whatever it is, you have to have an answer for that. While you think you have the answer, I would urge you to get a feedback, interact with people. What do they think about what your narrative is? Because if there's a mismatch between what you are thinking you're doing and what people perceive it to be, there's a problem. Not here, but in the way the message is coming out to the world, in the way you're communicating, in the way you speaking, the choice of words that you have, the idea and the presumption that you carry while you're interacting with people. It's all there already. These are interactions which I'm talking are a little bit longer duration ones, not the first time, one time instances. So here, that the entire idea of what's your pattern is double-edged sword. One is where you are creating patterns and you have to be in charge of the pattern that you want to create and be in control of what you're delivering on that. The other side of the story is just like how many times you have come across an instance that I didn't expect that from you. I wasn't expecting this as a response from your end. Or you were surprised pleasantly or on the negative side of what came through from the other person. Just as much as we are talking of our patterns, we live with stereotypes of what the pattern of the other person is. Be wary of that fact that you could fall trap as much as anyone can fall trap to your stereotypes, which could be different from what you want to do and what people perceiving. There could be a challenge of you stereotyping a certain pattern, a certain person based on the pattern that he has created. But there's never final. There could be outliers. There could be something that you have created in your own world. So I don't want to discuss much about this because I'm not talking of others' impact on you. I'm talking about your impact on the world. Be wary of the pattern that you're creating and the impact that you have of how you are thinking and how it is landing on people. That's about the third idea. The fourth thing, can you communicate or make an impact even without speaking? I'm not limiting to body language on a stage. The fourth aspect is acting in sync. Acting in sync. Look at how often is it of what we say, what we speak, and what we do. For people to trust you and believe you, and for you to truly make an impact, the idea of whatever you're saying, whatever you are believing, whatever you're talking has to be followed up with the action part of it. And that is where the true idea where someone will trust and believe you or be impacted with whatever you're doing is from what they see. From what they see of what you're doing, is it in sync with whatever you're speaking or not? Let me give you a story. I have, there was an India-Pakistan match which was happening. And during that match, like most of us, I called in sick to my office. On a Friday evening, morning, when the India-Pakistan match was there, I was by my side. I was with my kid who was sitting by my side and just about to enjoy the match. I got a call from my office and my son was right by my side. Dad, boss, I'm not sure what to do. I told him, pick up the call and tell him I'm not well. Dad, you're fine. You're okay. Okay. Tell him I'm sleeping. I'm not well. I'm sleeping. Dad, when did you start sleepwalking? You're sitting right here enjoying the match, right? I shouted back at him, son, just tell him I'm not here. He lifted the call. Dad told me to tell he's not here. I stared back at my kid for 2 whole minutes and told him, what did you do? And he stared back at me for 2 minutes and they said, Dad, yesterday you were telling, speak the truth, come what may. What is the impact that he's had? And 2 weeks later, I get a call from his school teacher. Take care of your son. Don't worry about the homework. He'll be all fine. It's okay. We'll manage about the school homework and everything. I looked at my son and asked him, you look okay. Why did your teacher say, take care of your health? He said, Dad, you won't understand. Look at how you influence not just while what you're speaking, but you influence and make an impact with what you're doing. You could be giving sermons all across, but for the deeper impact, people will need to see your story, your actions, and whatever you're doing as a follow-up to what you are saying. And that's where I say, act in sync with whatever you're saying. There's no greater tool to impact even far more than you speaking also. Because I've seen not many are great public speakers or great orators, but still they leave an impact purely based on this idea of what they are doing, how they are acting, and what is visible leaves a mark. So that's about the 4th letter. Moving to the 5th. If I were to say, does that make sense to you? What are your thoughts on it? Can I have a little time of yours? Let me know when you got a minute. I have something important to discuss. Maybe we should try this. Let's give it a try. Look at how the same idea is being shared, but the choice of words and the tonality and how you are landing to the receiver in both these instances. People do not want to just listen to a story. They want to see it through the way you are saying a story or content or whatever it is. If I were to just tell the same thing, act in sync with whatever you are saying. That has to follow up. Otherwise, it won't make an impact. And people won't trust you. In compared to what you just saw 2 minutes ago. The same idea being impacted, being delivered, but with the conviction in which I'm saying things. The same idea being said by 10 people won't sell without conviction, but that one person saying with conviction is what and who will take away the entire influence. Focus on the choice of words that you have. Here, it could be the thin line between aggressive, passive, assertive. There's a purpose with which you have to, it has to be purposeful choice. All I'm saying is that. Be tentative if there's a need. You don't want to be bossing around your employees telling that I know it all. While you don't want to look submissive by telling that, can we try that or what do you think about it? Look at the influence in the way you say things. And sometimes you may not be confident by yourself. I'm not saying you will be superpower and having it, knowing it, everything and doing it every time. You have to fake it sometimes for the other person to believe. And also sometimes work on the reverse engineering, wherein the way you deliver things is where you are putting a foot on your head and telling that this is what I want to do. or this is what I believe in, and this is what I want to execute. Because there'll be a nagging sound always in your mind that, can you do that? Are you better than 1, 2, 3? Is your idea really foolproof? Nobody has that. You look at the way people have convinced you on your decisions. The decision could have been right or wrong, but the idea was the way it was played out made the entire difference. So in your communication, when you're looking at interacting with people, look at how it is going to be perceived. If you are to just listen to what you have just said, someone speaking to you, will you revert? Will you respond? Will you be impacted by someone speaking like that? Is a question you need to ask yourself, because that will make the entire difference. Look at how wonderfully kids, young ones, are able to influence their parents on taking that chocolate, though you have that cough, or buying that ice cream, or going for that holiday. It's not always a nagging way of getting things done. But look at how the entire story is playing in, wherein you give in to what they're saying, because of the power in which and the way in which that message is being communicated to you. So focus on the way you are delivering your message. That the message, the content might be wonderful and exceptional and impactful, but if it is being delivered in a way it may not impact or leave or get someone to think about it, no point in having that wonderful content or wonderful analysis or thoughts and decisions that you have in your mind if it doesn't land through what you want the impact to be. Before I move to the last point, any questions, anyone up until now for the last 3 points? Patterns, acting in sync, and the conviction in which you're, with which you're speaking. Anyone? Requesting again everyone to please switch on your videos. Sunish, go ahead.
So I had one question related to, if I say pattern and conviction, like if we take feedback from people, what are our patterns and conviction? How can we improve it for the betterment? Like what we can do to improve our pattern and conviction?
Improving your pattern is basically getting it in sync with what you want it to be. A Virat Kohli's pattern, if he knows how aggression gets the best out of him, he should be aware of his pattern and see if he is not being aggressive in the way he's delivering it. Get the feedback whether whatever you're thinking or whatever your way of you want to get it done, if it is there's a difference in what is landing, that is where you need to work. So first is, what is it that you want to create as your pattern? That has to be clear, and the feedback will work towards realigning or working towards small changes or elements which will help you in getting to that pattern. There was a second question, or was it an extension of this one?
Extension, both. Conviction also, I believe it must be the same.
Conviction, again, I'm repeating this. It need not be that you have to have full faith or have full confidence. There will be instances of doubt creeping into your mind, and that resulting in, can I? And that tone changes. But there's always a superpower that we have of doing the reverse engineering, of using the tone to assure yourself of what you are saying and taking off that element of doubt which is there and many things like that. So it's also works also the reverse. That's what I wanted to mention. Yep. Thanks. Any other questions, anyone? Before I move to the last point, and then I know I said 30 minutes, but I've been engaging so that it doesn't get a monologue and end with it. I'll quickly wrap up with the last point and then move to the closing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Priya.
Yes, I wanted to understand a little bit about the reverse engineering bit. It seems interesting. So could you please tell what exactly this is?
I'm not sure if the word is exactly reverse engineering or not, but with the idea that I understood. What happens is that whenever we are thinking, our body and the way we operate, the hand gestures, the shoulders, the eye contact, the confidence with which we are doing things is a result. We think these are all results of our thinking power. But what actually is a possibility is also that you can use all these signs which denote a positive thought process or something like that to work on your mindset. So if I am not feeling confident, if I still put my shoulders high and stand up and deliver, it sends a message to my mind that it is confident. Looking at how we often use these elements where we think that these are the results of our thinking and what we are going through. The same exact elements can be used to reassure your mind of what is the reality and what you want to press your mind on. So that also works. There's a science behind it and much more deeper. I hope you've got an idea of what I'm trying to refer here. Priya?
Yes, I did. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. So let me move on to the last point that I have, and then we'll open it for questions, anything that is there. We've talked about idea and impact, merging with the audience, patterns, acting in sync, the conviction which you're speaking or delivering your message. And finally, we come to triggering emotions and actions. All influence is of no use if it doesn't result in the change which is required in the other person. It doesn't result in the actions which you are trying to get the other person to happen. Because at the end, you don't want people to be looking at a movie and going back, having been entertained, and yeah, it's a good story. I like that. But it's not applicable to me. I attended one workshop where he said that anything is possible. I went back home with the saying, anything is possible, just not today. The choice that you make and how you are impacting people is of paramount importance. And this triggering emotion and action becomes a fundamental element of your impact. Here, look at the best ad or best influence that you have had. You'll see that it's all a storytelling. It's all in the storytelling where you are impacting and influencing people. If I talk to you of any ad that you have been influenced or loved the idea or whatever you have been influenced might not be about the product which was being sold, but will be about the emotion that was sold in that. I'm not sure if I bought Surf Excel because of seeing an ad, but I for sure remember Surf Excel teaching me daag achhe hain. And I for sure remember the 90s ad of Bajaj, and even today with the connecting factor of the background music which runs in the Bajaj ad, even in today's ad. The idea that we're discussing over here is whatever you're saying, content, facts, figures might not always influence human behavior. What really influences is the emotion and the drive to action, the call to action which is there from your message. You could leave them lingering with just the idea of this is good to be done, but I don't know what to be done. So for the impact to last longer, look at the call to action, look at how you're triggering emotion in people. Rather than just telling your story, look at how you're instigating that thought, the emotion that you are having and making them feel that through your conversations. You look at if you have been in circles, if you have been in groups of friends, anywhere, the one who is the most admired or the one who's leaving the impact is a storyteller. I'm sure you're thinking about your friend. Yeah, that person always is a center because he's a storyteller. That person in your company who's influencing the most decisions is a storyteller. It's a wide and deeper idea altogether of storytelling, but I've seen the most deepest impact being left by people who are storytellers. And it's not a born trait. It's a trait where you can learn and you can see how do you go about instigating emotions? How do you go about propelling someone to act based on the sheer words that you're saying and how you're saying them. So focus on how you are driving whatever idea that you have, whatever message that you have, whatever you're talking in every conversation, in every communication. Do not limit to this is my idea. Build that idea with a story. You know why even today you remember hare and tortoise? If people who would have taught you go slow and steady, you wouldn't have remembered it. You remember because you can visualize what happened to that tortoise or what happened to that hare and how they ran and how they finished and how the hare stopped at the stop line and what all happened. you are able to visualize, you're able to think and completely picturize the impact and the lesson which has come through it, because it was a story. Look at, if I were to ask you, in whatever lifetime you have, look back at your life, the moments that you'll be able to recollect will be stories. Will be stories of how things panned out. Not one point instance of what has happened, but the entire storyline that you have built. Having said that, I come to an end to the 6 lessons that I learned about how we can make an impact every time we are conversing, communicating, standing up on stage, in every format of communication that you're having with people. One-to-one, known, unknown, strangers, however you are interacting. The impact that you can leave is immense. And it's not a one-time event that happens. It's in the daily life, in the daily conversations that you are having. Just look at how you are inculcating these 6 elements of the word impact. Bring in one element at a time and see the impact it will have on your communication, and how you are leaving people influenced and left with thinking about what you talked or what happened in that conversation every time you are doing it. Reiterating the 6 points: I for idea and impact, merge with the audience, the patterns that you have, the acting in sync with what you're thinking or saying, the conviction and the confidence with which you are speaking and delivering your message, and finally, triggering the emotion and action from whatever you're saying with a story. With that, I leave it open to question answers. More than happy to answer. I know it's already 9:58, and the ones with video are already having their lunch, or they're having their dinners. And any questions, anyone? If not, Anupriya, the stage is all yours.
Okay, so with this, I request those who are not having their dinners can switch on their videos for a moment to be captured. That's great. Vikas has his video on. Can we have some more smiles, please? Yes, we have Santosh here. Hi, Santosh. I'm not taking picture right now. Give me a moment.
Santosh, hold on to that expression.
Just give me a moment. Have you a picture ready? Smile. Just don't. Yeah.
Anupriya, the smile can't hold too long. We'll have a jaws.
Okay. Thank God it's done.
Thank you. Thank you, Anupriya. I've shared a link in the Zoom chat over here. More than happy to connect with all of you all. That's the initiative that I run called as Living Life, wherein I do a lot of content creation and conduct workshops in schools and colleges on life skills. So you can get in touch with me on that. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. It was wonderful interacting and listening to your ideas and answering your questions. Hopefully, each one of you all have had a little bit of a value add, because it's, thank God, it's Friday. Anupriya, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Rahul. It was indeed a great session. It was really impactful to have such an impactful acronyms of the word impact. I never thought that it could have something this meaning. So since we do not have any questions and our moment has been captured, so this was all about the District 98 Division M presents Thank God It's Fridays today's session. There's a link shared by Toastmaster Rahul. You can connect with him. And thank you, Sanish, for sharing the certificate. So here is your certificate of appreciation I'll just quickly capture the moment. Just a minute. Yeah, just a minute. Smile. Thank you so much. Kindly accept your token of appreciation. Thank you, Rahul, for being here with us.
Thank you. And I've been passing through Fridays, thinking every time, when will it be? Thank God it's Friday for me. Appreciate the efforts from Toastmaster Anand, who came back to me because this was one session which was scheduled almost 2 months back. And because of some medical emergency, I couldn't take it up on that day. Appreciate the entire initiative and wonderful work being done over here. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good
I think the
night.
people who are stayed behind, yeah, Santosh, I know he's stayed behind for networking.
Thank you, guys. Any feedback that you'd like to give? You can stop the recording now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not sure how many will be willing to